Hey, Dev.
No music intro this time.
Well, it's just for Better Harvest, so we wanted to make it.
Oh yeah, sure. We don't really care about that.
Yeah. Listen, if you want to dance a little bit, go right ahead. Hey, we're here. It's a unscheduled broadcast. It's really going to be used to support our Gamefound crowdfunding project of Heroes of the Better Harvest, and we're here to basically just talk about that. We're going to show you a little bit of the graphics of it. Give you a quick little oversight. So anyway, we're going to lead with that.
And obviously, we're here to answer questions as well.
Oh, well, you got to hope we know the answers.
I didn't say that. I just said we were here to answer questions.
Okay, so I'll let Devin explain basically a little bit what Heroes of the Bitter Harvest is about, and go from there, Dev.
All right. Well, Heroes of the Bitter Harvest is our newest and latest full-size boxed module for the lock and load tactical system. I know it's been a couple years since we've put out a full-size box game, and I've been working on this project for about 2.5-3 years. It's been working on for about 2.5-3 years, and COVID kind of threw a thing in the wrench for getting the development finished and everything. But it's a full line box set, just like we all know and love all of our lock and load tactical modules. This one is going to be covering the German summer offensive 1942 in southern Russia. It was the Germans' Case Blue. It was the drive for the Baku oil fields that they obviously failed at and ended up deciding to go to a little riverside city called Stalingrad. I don't know if people have heard of that place, but there was a little bit of fighting there. And so basically this was the operation that led up to Germany's decision to try to take over Stalingrad. We got 12 scenarios in it, and I've done my best to try to make them as interesting as possible. Yeah, I mean, it would have been real easy for me to fall into the trap of, well, it's a German offensive, so we're just going to have 12 scenarios of Germans attacking. No, I didn't want to go that route. We've got Germans attacking. We've got Russian infantry attacking German mechanized. We've got, Soviet armor counterattacking German mechanized. We've got infantry forces in meeting engagements. I mean, we just got a whole plethora of different types of scenarios and situations. And it wasn't that hard to really find scenarios because the campaign was over a 2-3 month period over several thousand kilometers. So there's a lot that I could have drawn on, and we did. So that's what Here's the Bitter Harvest is. We're seeing a lot of new equipment and a lot of new vehicles. Not so much on the Soviet side. The Soviets really didn't have many new vehicles by the time 42 rolled around, other than what they had when the war started: T-70s, KV-1s, T-34s. The Germans, they like to upgrade their models all the time. So we see some new variations of German Panzers that we haven't seen before. The Panzer IV-F, the Panzer II-F, the Stug 3H, and there's an armored car that is escaping my memory. Nkvd 244, 224. We also see the Soviet Il-2 Sturmovik fighter, with the Soviets finally getting a ground support aircraft. I know I was actually kind of disappointed that they didn't have one in Heroes of the Motherland, so I figured, we got to go ahead and add that in there. Of course, the Stuka's there, where I was going to see the Stuka. The Soviets are also getting a new troop type, the Soviet Nkvd police battalions. Really good on defense, not really good for anything else. So there are a few scenarios that do focus on the NKVD's staunch fanatic defense in positions, and so I've come up with some pretty cool rules that I think will reflect their stand and die mentality that they had, somewhat like the German SS. The Soviet Tatanka machine gun wagon, I've always adored. Just the simple concept that the Soviets, we're not going to put machine guns on trucks. We're going to put them on horse-drawn wagons and drag them around and shoot up the Germans with them. So we got those in there. We got a whole bunch of stretch goals. We got 10 stretch goals, 9 we can talk about. One's a secret one that we can't talk about yet. That's kind of the basics of what Bitter Harvest is, and some of the stuff that's included. We've got a whole host of imagery and a whole bunch of stuff that we want to show off tonight.
Okay. We go to the magic spot of pictures. All right, guys, we're going to talk about different things in the game. We may not cover everything, but we'll cover quite a bit. We're going to start it off with just pushing this up here for you guys. It starts tomorrow in Gamefound. Some of you guys asked, why we're not using Kickstarter. This just works better for us for issues we've had. Nothing horrible, guys. So this is going to be our official line on it, but we look really forward. We find that the back end for Gamefound really does add a lot. Like when we reach a certain stretch goal, that stretch goal will automatically activate. We don't have to run in at 3 o'clock in the morning and change it and stuff like that. So that we're going to start with that. There will be a link I'll throw up in the bottom. Well, we'll start with some of the links now. The big link that I think you guys are going to care about, as soon as of course, I find that link. Here we go. Okay. First thing, guys, I'm going to put this on here. Okay. That is the link to Bid a Harvest. There's a chance that may not work tomorrow. The campaign actually starts May 4th at 12 noon Colorado time. Okay. But if you just do a search for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest or just Heroes of the Bitter, it shows up. Okay. But there's a link for it. We expect that it will be the right link anyway. But for any reason it doesn't work, that's how you find it. The big thing we want to go, and you'll see why we're doing this, is we're starting a special LNLP spring sale. You guys have been asking, when are we going to have a sale again? Here's your sale. Okay. The code for the sale is Heroes35. Okay. It's good for anything on the store, 35 additional % off. All right. That's pretty much it. So it works on everything. Okay. So we're going to leave that scrolling in the bottom so people can see it. Again, this is going to be kind of a little bit of a quick broadcast. So let's start off with the actual game itself before we go into any of the side stuff. Let me see. Okay, this might look familiar to the guy on the right. It's kind of similar. It just seems to work out that way. As you guys know, we try to use our customers and staff on the boxes just because it adds a little something to the guys who are actually paying for the game, playing the game. If you guys would like to be on any cover or any counter, okay, we don't charge for it. I know in the past there was people charging for it. That's not since we've been involved. All you got to do is go to our forums, and once you're on the forums, you go into Lock and Load Tactical, and you say, okay, how to get your face on the cover, and all the instructions and everything you need to know is there. Okay. Okay, that's just a picture of the module rules and stuff. Okay, let me just make sure there's any comments that we need to answer.
Tim's got a good one.
What's Tim say? Is it an OG army leader? Oh, I've heard something about that. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. That's the second guy commented. Just so you know, this shirt is 20-something years old. The last time I remember wearing this, I got to my wife's disgust, hundreds of T-shirts. Okay. And the very first convention that Matrix Games, my own Matrix Games went to, down in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I took my 6- and 5-year-old son with me to the game convention. And I have a picture of us together, and I'm wearing this T-shirt. So since we're talking about Hills of the Bitter Harvest and the Eastern Front, I pulled this shirt out. Those two kids are now 25 and 24, I believe. So you get an idea. Okay. Let's go to the other stuff. Okay. If you look at the top right of your screen, you may notice again. Okay. Famous guy there now. I think the rating
I don't know who that is.
Well, the rating might be a little high. I've heard complaints from other players.
I don't know. That goatee on him, that doesn't look very historically accurate.
It's funny. I found pictures, and actually, Ivan, the gentleman who's the artist who did the counters for us, he sent some pictures showing German tank commanders and troops with beards and cuts like that. Yes, it wasn't proper during the not shooting at you immediately phase, but once you're in the front lines and people are getting shot at, they're not really worrying about your shaving. as much. So yeah, it's not technically regulation, I guess is the way of looking at it, but there really is quite a few pictures of it.
Yeah, one famous German armor commander, Kurt Neuspel, he refused to shave if he could get away with it for the most part. There are pictures out there with just these big old bushy beards. I mean, like a month, 2 month growth beards out there. So yeah, all right, maybe the goatee, maybe that wasn't really, but we have seen pictures of German troops with goatees, and yeah, they did exist. I know that it seems to offend the sensibilities of a lot of people, and well. Okay.
We're going to live with that.
Yeah, we can live with that.
All right. Here is a picture of a few of the maps. We have quite a few pictures of maps. Yep. There's 2 modules that are going to be on this Gamefound campaign. One is called Enemy at the Gates, which is an add-on just for this game. Okay, so it's an expansion. You can buy it with the game now, okay? And then we also threw in here Valor of the 13th. Now, Valor of the 13th, you need Heroes of the Motherland to play, not Enemy at the Gates. So let me just be very clear. One of the reasons there's a code for Heroes 35. You can buy it now, have it at the house long before Heroes of the Bitter Harvest gets to you, okay? But we're going to go through both of them just so you can, all 3 of them really, so you get to see what we have. But we're going to start off with the maps. These are the maps you're going to get, Dev, right?
Yep.
Okay, these are the maps for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. So there's 7 maps total, Dev?
Yep, 7 maps total. For the most part, a lot of the fighting in southeastern Russia was steppes and grainland. I mean, basically, think of like driving through Kansas and Iowa. That's a lot of what the territory and the terrain that was fought over. So we have 3 maps that do kind of represent that. Lot of grains. So you're going to think, all right, cool, the steppes of Russia, wide open fields of fire, except for all the wheat fields that are going to get into your way. So you would think that they would be a lot of long range tank duels, and sometimes there were. But for the most part, it came down to hunting each other in the wheat fields. And so we have 3 maps that are representing that. There was fighting that did extend down into the Caucasus Mountains. In fact, there was a Gebirgsjäger mountain forces that captured the highest peak in the Caucasus Mountains, and there was several battles as the Germans tried to push to the Black Sea down along the Caucasus Mountains. So we had to have some mountains. So we've got one mountain map right there, and we've got the one nicely wooded map. And there were a lot of cities. Well, not a lot of cities, but there were 4 or 5 major cities that they fought over. And so we had to have some urban maps. And I will just say, Mark has outdone himself on these urban maps this time. I mean, when you get them, take a look at them and see if you can try to find all the little details. I mean, it's like he'll have a wood plank that was left on top of a building that they didn't use when they were putting the shingles on it, or there'll be glass broken out of one of the skylights. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal job that Mark has done on these maps. And so we tried to get a little bit of a mix of everything that we were going to run into, and those are the maps.
Okay. Next thing for you guys, let's see. Okay, now these aren't going to show you the details of the counters, but these are the counter sheets. I know Mo is here, and you can maybe pick him out as a German leader in this game too. Oh, look at that facial here too, guys. See, look at that.
Yeah, well, he's got more of a mustache, although I think he does have a goatee.
He's got it going down too.
Yeah, so yeah, there's 7 counter sheets in this one, all told. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. We've got German motorcycle infantry. We've got regular infantry. On the Soviet side, we've got line infantry, Nkvd. We've got guards units. We've got one of the things that kind of always kind of shocked me about Heroes of the Motherland is like Heroes of the Motherland, like 2 half tracks in it. You can't really do a scenario with mechanized assaults with like 2 or 3 half tracks. So I made sure to pack more half tracks in this one so we can get some decent mechanized assaults in this one. A bunch of tanks in this, a lot of good stuff. But yeah, 7 counter sheets.
Okay, these are the player aids. They're the same player aids that you see in the core rules, but obviously they're jazzed up to fit the Heroes of the Bitter Harvest theme. We're not going to spend much time going through this, guys. If you play Lock and Load, you know what they are. And if you haven't, you can download the manual for free. Okay, the core rules, and pick up on that. The online library is basically library.lnlpublishing.com. Okay, these are the
skills.
Skills reference cards. Okay, and
we've got 12 skills in the game and two brand new ones.
Okay, Mike, you're asking, will the game is the only way to obtain the game through Gamefound? All right, let me address that elephant in the room. Okay, right now the only way, well, I won't say the only way. We're going to order pretty much very limited quantities after the Gamefound order, and the reason is because the production to do this is just killing us, guys. It's that simple. So I've cut a deal, which I'm not allowed to go into a lot of details with, to get it up and done and immediately on a transport. We're working on a special thing for, we're going to say, producing it here. I can't go into details because I'm not allowed to yet. Okay, and it may not even happen. I'm not going to say it's a done deal until it's a done deal. Many of you know that I've been working on literally making a print house company here, buying quite a bit of real high-end, very automated equipment. Okay, and I'm going to say we're kind of close, but it's not there yet. So yes, there will be very limited quantities afterwards. It will definitely be more money, not hundreds of dollars, anything ridiculous, but it's not going to be $10 either. Okay, and it really would do us a lot of good if you support us this way. The numbers help us for what we're trying to do, Mike. So yes, but there will be very limited quantities. Okay, we used to buy 2,000 and 3,000 pieces. I've talked to other publishers, which I won't name, because it's private information. But keeping these games in a warehouse for an extended period of time and all that, it just doesn't pay. It really hurts, to put it bluntly. All right. So I hope, Mike, that answers your question there. Next thing for you. Okay, this game will have the battle generator
values
built into it. If you guys remember back in the day when we made the battle generator, the book of the battle generator that you buy now has all the games that have German or has the point cost charts for the units in the battle generator. Going forward, we're going to include that in each module. Okay, so if you got the rules, you got the tables, don't throw them away, because those are all, they cover all the other games. If you buy this, you're just going to get it. Okay, you'll still want the rules. I believe the rules we also include the rules in there too, so you won't need that. But if you want the older game tables, you'll have to buy the other module. Okay, and
those are the actual skill cards themselves. Yep,
I believe that's a stretch goal, right?
Is it a stretch goal? I think I think it is a stretch goal that we include.
Stretch goal, guys, that we give you.
We got so many stretch goals we can't keep track of all of them.
Right. Okay, and then you have these. Okay, these are the solo cards. We'll explain that. We'll go into that. I know you guys have some questions for us on that. This is just the normal manual. So these are the scenarios. I want to point this out now, and we'll go back into it again. We have changed the layout of the scenarios. Now, before I get any poison pen notes, we didn't change the layout as what you're used to here. We've added, much to Devin's chagrin,
and consternation, and me losing more of my hair and my alcohol funds being
all
increased.
solo setups to it. Okay, so now you have the solo setups, and we've added to the what we're calling the solo assistant. Okay, and again, I'll kind of going to push it off until we get to that. But in these manuals, in the scenario module rules, you will be getting solo setups and certain cards you can use with a solo play and certain events. Okay, so they're much more fine-tuned that way. No, we're not going to go back and redo it for all the games. That's why you have the LNLT solo game. Okay, that was made to cover everything in one drop of a dime. If we reprint, let's say, Heroes of Normandy, will we go back and do it? Devin Strick is going to say yes. So you can't say no. we'll change it then if we're going to do that, and we'll explain to you the system that we're using for these cards. Okay. Let's see what we have here, Dev. Okay. I guess let's talk about this. Okay. What we've done is on the Lock and Load Tactical Digital, we have added, we call it an RPG system. It's RGP light at best. Would you say that, Dev?
Oh, definitely RPG light, but it is kind of an RPG. So
yeah, what it lets you do is you can add a leader to the game or even replace it. And the reason it's blacked out is because it's supposed to be the unknown soldier, you know, basically unlabeled. There's no numbers on it. And the reason is because the card that's in the book, you can either use the color card and color copy it. It will be included in data cards, which we haven't shown you yet. And you can put your morale, leadership, and movement on there, which can change as you do certain events and scenarios and stuff. And you can go up and go down in points. Okay. Not very complicated. Okay. Can we expand upon it as we move forward? Yes. But it's a very, they really seem to enjoy this a lot on the digital system. And so we wanted to add that ability into the board games. I'll try to answer any questions you got on this. Okay. Answer another question here. Okay. Then we have, that's why it's up here. Devin can explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, this is just a blow up of one of the skill cards that are going to be coming in with the game. As everybody who's played Lock and Load Tactical, they know the ambush skill. It's a really cool skill to have. It makes its reappearance in Lock and Load Tactical. So this is basically the same information that's on the player aid card, but it's also going to be a deck of cards. So if you're playing a scenario that has someone who has the ambush in it, you just pull the card out, set it next to the board. So it's a quick reference guide. You don't have to pull another player aid card. And we're going to have one of these for all the skills. We've done this with other games in the line that you can go back. We offer it through War Games Vault. So if you want all the skill cards for like Heroes of Defiance, that's available. All the skill cards for Heroes of Normandy, those are available as part of a purchase from War Games Vault. But for this one, like I said, we think it's a stretch goal. Regardless, it's going to be in the game because stretch goal or not, it's there. So yeah, that's just a blow up of one.
And like I said, if it doesn't reach the stretch goal, the cards are there. We just added the deck of cards as a stretch goal for those who like the cards.
Yeah.
Okay. We have I guess we'll go into the modules. I'm trying to see if this is the right graphic. May not be, Dev.
Now this is some of the new counters that we're going to be seeing in the Enemy at the Gates module, which is the expansion for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. So, like I said, I designed Heroes of the Bitter Harvest 2.5-3 years ago. And Enemy at the Gates I started working on last year. So what happens is Heroes of the Bitter Harvest covers everything up to right before Stalingrad happens. And we decided, well, we're going to be doing a Stalingrad game eventually, but we're already here and we already have the gear and equipment. Why don't we just make a little expansion for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest that covers fighting in the early stages of Stalingrad? So there was a lot more equipment and things I wanted to add in for this fighting in Stalingrad specifically. So Heroes of the Bitter Harvest covers up to pretty much the next to the last scenario is the very first part of suburbs that Germany captured in Stalingrad, and Enemy at the Gates takes that story further. So there's a lot of really cool new equipment that wasn't able to get into Bit of Harvest, but now I could get into Enemy at the Gates. As we can kind of see, we've got a severe rebel counter, the fighting in Stalingrad and the bombing, the artillery strikes devastated the city. Anybody who knows fighting Stalingrad knows that's the case for it. So we decided to come up with a new type of terrain that's placed by scenario special rule called severe rubble, which is so choked with debris that nothing can get into it. It's basically a hex. Nothing can enter. Nobody can set up in it. Snipers can't set up in it. Nothing can move through it. So it's kind of a really, really, well, severe rubble. The Maxim Machine Gun, we never really had we had weapon teams for the Maxim, but we never had them as a support weapon, and that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So we got the Maxim Machine Gun as a support weapon now. The Rock 3, really cool. Soviet flamethrower. The early stages of the Soviet ROK-3 flamethrower, what they did is they took a Mazon Nagant to kind of camouflage it, and then attach the fuel hose up through the barrel. So that's why you're looking at that Soviet flamethrower, and it's a flamethrower, but it's got a Mazon Nagant rifle stock on it. So I thought that was a little cool addition to put in there. The Stu 42, I love Stugs. I'm all about the Stug life, and so I wasn't able to fit any Stu H's, Stu H42s in Bit of Harvest, but it's like, oh, I got more counter space now. Let's go ahead and stick them in there. And Stu H's were prevalent in Stalingrad. Of course, roadblocks. I mean, you're going to see roadblocks all over the place in Stalingrad just because of the nature of the fighting there.
All right.
And so that's just some of the counters that are coming in Enemy at the Gates.
What do we have in here's a Bit of Harvest.
Well, I already kind of described some of them.
Okay, so there's nothing else additional on top. Oh, those are the combined, right?
Yeah, those are combined.
Okay. Sorry, guys. All right. We also have redone, and I don't think we've ever included this before. We did in World at War 85, but not in a local tactical game. We did this for a couple of reasons. One, some of the guys are having failing vision. This helps it. Okay. 2, it allows you to use this for miniatures. Okay. So basically, we're just showing the squad, but all the units in the game will show up, including the add-on expansion. Okay. So you get to see what the counter looks like front and back. You can see the numbers and have firepower if there's any special notes for the unit. Now you may say, hey, it shows you what it reduces to. Again, you don't have to go look at the chart if you don't want to. But there's a blank box. And what that's for is when we did it for World War 45, we put 3 boxes down. And people can put down different miniatures. But most people only have 1 miniature type. So we figured you can write in or photocopy and then write in the miniature equivalent to what you want. Because miniatures seems to be the rebel of organization. Okay, some guys, will take a fact and says it's worth, 4 inches, and that guy it's 2 feet, and it's very hard to nail it down because you guys all use different rules. So we wanted to provide a place where you can put it on there, so when you're playing with your miniature, you can just look at a card and know what your inherent firepower might be in hexes or inches or meters or yards or whatever you guys are using. So that's what that's for. Okay. And we do show more on this on the actual page. Okay. I'm going to show you. Well, you know what we can do, Dev? What are some of the rules added to Bit of Harvest, not yet to our Enemy at the Gates? We'll start with Bit of Harvest first.
Well, for the most part, the new types of rules that we see in Bit of Harvest really are the Nkvd rules, because they have, like I said, they were fanatical defensive fighters. So what we have for the Nkvd is that if they are at full strength and take a shaken result, you can you can choose to, instead of taking the shaken result, immediately reduce them to a half squad, but they're not shaken. So it's basically they're trading bodies for their ability to stay in the fight. Does that mean that the Nkvd forces take a lot more casualties? Yes, they do, but that is kind of also historically accurate. One of the new skills we have is the Shadow, which kind of works really good with the Nkvd. It's a lot harder to spot a unit that has the shadow skill or a leader with the shadow skill attached with them. I mean, even if they shoot, you're still going to have to try to roll the spot, or if you're right next to them. It's just representing a lot of the NKDV forces were drawn from the cities that they were fighting in, so they knew the ins and outs, and usually had weeks, if not months, to prepare their defenses. Another special skill that we have is the Blitzer, which is a special ability for armor leaders only, which allows them to activate twice in a row, once per game. Other than that, for the most part, a lot of the rules that you've seen that were in Heroes of the Motherland pretty much carry over. The For the Motherland rule is still there. Oh, my brain just completely went blank. The Soviet Guards units have the same rules as they did in Heroes of the Motherland. Motorcycle units, we've had motorcycle units in the game before. Nothing new there. So really, from a rule standpoint, not much has been included in Bitter Harvest.
Big one.
But
snipers.
See, now we're getting into Enemy at the Gates. Enemy at the Gates, we got 3 new unique rule sets, or 3 new unique rules that we're doing with Enemy at the Gates. We already mentioned one of them, the Severe Rubble, and also we've kind of changed the rules for snipers a little bit in Enemy at the Gates, because snipers were such an integral part and took on a whole level of warfare that had not been seen with snipers before. We've kind of, I don't want to say buffed or upgraded the snipers. We've just given them a little bit more flexibility. Now we've got the ability for snipers to reposition. And this is something that happened. The Soviets did it all the time. The Germans did it all the time. They'd take 1 or 2 shots, and then they would scamper through holes that they had prepared earlier to move themselves to a new position. Well, in the standard rule set, once a sniper's placed, you can't move it, which means that, a regular squad just runs up and melees you real quick. Well, now in Stalingrad, you can reposition your sniper. As an impulse, as an action, you remove it from the board, and you basically put it on the turn track 2 turns ahead from where you remove it, and this is representing their time shifting into a new position. And once that turn comes up, then you can replace the sniper on the board. So yeah, that's going to make hunting snipers down a little bit more difficult, because if you don't get the initiative and don't clear out the lanes of fire to try to approach the sniper to melee him, because everybody knows shooting at snipers is difficult to begin with, and if you're shooting at snipers in rubble, which is a +4 terrain effects modifier, firing against snipers is a +8 terrain effects modifier. Yeah, unless you've got a 155 millimeter howitzer pointing at him, it's tough to take a sniper out. So it's just easy to run into melee. Can't do that as easy anymore, because the snipers were more prepared to being able to bug out and shift positions. And so we've got rules for that in the Enemy at the Gates, and we're also introducing a new terrain type, again really unique to Stalingrad: sewer movement.
Hold on. Let me get the map up. Okay, just so you guys know, Enemy at the Gates, in a way, I kind of drew out the maps, and then Mark smacked me around a little bit. Devin smacked me around a little bit. We modified the maps. It's kind of, I got into tactical games because of Squad Leader, and I'm sure I cannot mention. So the first 3 or 4 scenarios of Enemy at the Gates is kind of what would you call that?
It's our love letter to the first 3 scenarios from Squad Leader. Guards counterattack. Yep, it's the Guards counterattack. It's the Tractor Works. It's Streets of Stalingrad. We've all played them. We all loved them. This is, like I said, this is our love letter to those great scenarios that pretty much launched most of the tactical careers of most war gamers. They're like David was saying, they're not exactly the same. Squad Leader had a lot more counters than we had. So the scenarios are slightly a little bit smaller. But the maps, if you look at it, it's like, wow, that looks like board 1 from Squad Leader. Yeah, the Squad Leader boards are a little bit bigger than ours, so there has been some changes to make it fit for our boards and for our purposes. But yes, we definitely wanted to pay homage to those great Squad Leader scenarios. But anyways, getting back to sewer movement, we wanted to add in sewer movement. And if you'll notice on these maps, you'll see brown circles in some of the buildings. Those are basically the sewer entrances.
Yeah.
And as you can see, kind of the blow up on the right-hand side, so we can get a real good look at it. Plus, we've also included some sewer markers for design your own scenarios. And sometimes there are scenarios that we just, all right, put a sewer in this hex, put a sewer in this hex, just because some of the scenarios are so big, we needed extra sewer movement capabilities. So basically, if a unit is in one of these sewer entrances, they can say, all right, I'm going to use sewer movement. It takes their entire impulse. They make a command roll. Their leadership modifier modifies it. And if they roll a certain number, then they can automatically move to any other sewer entrance within 4 hexes. We didn't want this complicated like Squad Leader or ASL sewer movement was. So it's just a simple roll. If you succeed at the roll, you immediately pop out in another hex, another sewer hex, 4 hexes away. Sometimes that'll mean you'll jump right into melee combat, because that could happen. There's some combat modifiers if you do that. If you fail the roll, you just stay in the hex you're in. You're marked ops complete. So again, we don't want this game to become Squad Leader ASL. So we tried to keep the sewer rules as, I don't want to say basic, but as easy as possible without becoming overweighty and having people complain at us that we're turning the game into Squad Leader.
What? No one's ever said that.
No one's ever said that. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
And no, these rules are not Kev Sharp approved yet. Just so you know, he hasn't had a chance to try them, so we're still waiting for the final verification. Here's a little more detail on one of the maps. Okay, and just to show you one more of those. Okay, we also have we'll show you some enemy at the, not enemy, it's Valor of the 13th. Okay. Yep. Did I show this already?
You showed one, the banner version of that one already. Okay. Yeah.
All right, and then these are the maps that you get with enemy at the gates, right?
Yes. Correct. They're going to be 4 maps.
Enemy at the gate maps.
Yep.
So you get 7 with the base game, and then you get 4 more additional maps with enemy at the gates.
And I would like to point out there are 12 scenarios in Bitter Harvest and 10 scenarios at enemy at the gates. So you're going to get 22 scenarios with this Kickstarter or Gamefounder or crowdfunding. How are we calling it? We don't really know what we're calling. Gamefounder. Okay.
Okay. Now I'm looking for the images. Okay. This has 2 maps. Well, it's 2 maps, but this picture here will show you that it's 4. I think this is 4, equivalent to 4 lock and load tactical maps.
Right. For Valor with the 13th, we went with 2. We call them our historical size, which are really big maps, which are roughly 4 to 6 normal map panels. And this is the hill map, map 87, I think it is. And yeah, it's roughly the size of 4 normal lock and load tactical maps all put together.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I have to say on it right now. I thought you were going to. Yep.
No, sorry. I'm checking here. Okay. Then we have this map. Now, this map looks very familiar if you've played Dark July 43, or I think it's been called Dark. We've kind of repurposed this map. We added some terrain stuff for it. And the reason we did was because this module added some more options for your armor abilities to fight, and we wanted a little bit more open spaces so the Tigers and T-34s and whatever else is included could battle it out more. We're not being stuck in the buildings. I'm not sure if Dev and I can remember all the rules we made.
We did. We spent quite some time working on those rules.
Yeah.
So, but basically, Dark July covers the fighting around the Ponyari railhead on the north shoulder of the Kursk Salant. In fact, the first map that David showed you, the hill map, if you were to take that and go about 10 more hexes north, then you're starting to get at the actual railhead itself. I didn't want to do a lot of the fighting in the Ponyari rail yard itself, because we wanted this to focus on more armor engagements with the railhead. There was armor there, but it was a messy city fight, basically. These two maps allowed us to do a lot more of the open, wide-ranging fighting that was at Kursk. And a couple of the scenarios are pretty big. We kind of had to print up another sheet of counters to have enough T-34s and Tigers to be able to play a couple of the scenarios in this. There's one scenario that I think comes with 11 Tigers and 32 T-34s and like 6 KV-1s, really big armor scenarios. Again, we do have some special rules in here that do change up the armor rules a little bit. You can damage weapon systems, you can damage the mobility, you can destroy the gun without destroying the tank, you can destroy the tracks without destroying the tank. So the tank is out there immobilized. I'm real happy with how David and I brought the rules about for the armor system. Now, the armor rules are completely optional. They're not 100%. Yes, you have to play with these. If you don't want to play with them, you don't have to play with them.
Yeah, you can
optional.
Right, we made it so you can use the original rules and curse us up and write us hate letters of why we wrecked your armor rules, whatever you like. Okay. All right, so. Let me see here.
Now we should probably mention for Valor of the 13th, Heroes of the Motherland is required to play that. You need the Tiger tanks. You need a lot of the counters from Heroes of the Motherland. This is not compatible with Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. There are no Tiger tanks at Bitter Harvest. There are no T-3485s at Bitter Harvest because they hadn't been reduced or released onto the battlefield yet. So we are giving you this as part of one of the stretch goals.
No, it's not a stretch goal.
Oh, no, it's a stretch goal. It's an addition.
It's an extension. You don't have to buy it, but people wanted to get the whole thing. So we figured since it's Eastern Front, we made it available at the same time. And it was one of the special things our printer really gave us. He wanted to seal the deal, and he basically really helped us make this work.
Right. So if you want to play Valor of the 13th, it does require Heroes of the Motherland. So,
and again, that's one of the reasons for those who may not have it and wanted it. If it's 10% off normally, or 15% or 20% off, you get another 35. Is it 35? Yeah, 35% off.
35%
code that's scrolling the bottom of the screen, so you can add it to your cart now and get it and be all set to play if that's what you like.
I will also point out that this Valor of the 13th does come Solitaire setup enabled, like what we've done with Bitter Harvest and Enemy at the Gates. So if you pick up Bitter Harvest and you want to use the solo system for it, Valor of the 13th is fully compatible and written up so you can use that solo system with it.
Okay, and if for some reason you do not want Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, and you already own Motherland, you can. I think you can just order.
Yeah, it's available. Yeah, it's available.
And you can still use the original Lock and Load Tactical Solo. Okay, yes. So all right, I guess what we'll do now is we're gonna I'm gonna probably take the lead on this just because I have this more in my head, unfortunately. Sean and I, mostly Sean, did Lock and Load Tactical Solo, as you guys know. It's compatible with all the games from not this one, but everything going back, okay? Because it was made to be one size fits all type of thing, okay? So there are no setup scenarios because you set up and then you play. You can reset up multiple times, but you can play from either side. It's got really good ratings on Board Game Geek. And if you like that type of stuff, you'll love this, okay? In my personal opinion. So we improved and expanded the player aid cards. Sean did a really excellent job expanding them. We've taken those cards and we have released them for free as a download. Okay, and I believe they're on Board Game Geek under Lock and Load Tactical Solo, and I think they're also available via our resource section through our forums. Okay, so we're not trying to charge you for buying something you own. It literally, you can get it for free and keep playing with what you have and use the expanded flow charts that it just covers more ground. What Sean and I didn't like so much was we didn't like the random events. Actually, Sean hated them. That was me. Okay. And it's hard to cover every battle situation properly. I mean, for the guys at Bastogne, you have a completely different situation than, you know, the initial drive on Stalingrad, or you have Normandy, or Patrick is at Crete, and, you know, pick your thing there. So what did we change? Well, the first thing we changed was, here's a sample of, we used to have symbols on the bottom of the cards for you to reload. Now we put the reload card in there, okay, and we tell you basically what to do, okay? And if the card is even, the card is uneven, you take the card out and you remove it, okay? There are different cards for this reload, okay? And some scenarios, we may even tell you, you can't use card 39 and 42, use all the other cards. Notice that there is no dice on these cards for the same reason. Will not throw off. Some people thought we made a mistake with the dice. We didn't really. Sean and I deliberately knew what we had done, but some people got the opinion that, oh, well, you know, it doesn't divide by 6, so there's a problem. And there wasn't, but we removed them from these type of cards, and the symbols are not there anymore. Okay? All the cards have been somewhat updated. They are very similar to what you're used to, guys. So again, it's not to throw you off, okay? But what we did do was we added 2 dice, okay? So sometimes you can add them together. One can be for the Soviets, one can be for the German side. And you may say, hey, what's that star on the bottom? Very, very hard fought, hard wrestled, hard designed feature from all of us. We gave a set of cards that were defensive, which are blue now, and offensive, which are red. And then you'll see there's another set of cards that have 2 stars, okay? Those that are blue tend to be more of a defensive, harsher type of defensive ploy the cards are going to make. And if they're red, they're more aggressive, okay? Now, what we've done is some of the scenarios will tell you don't use any of the, you normally would not use the 2-star cards unless you're told to. Some scenarios may say, hey, don't use the 2-star, the 1-star defensive, use 2 stars, or vice versa. Some scenarios may tell you to use both on one side or the other. It gave us some flexibility to really kind of try to tilt the battle a certain way. Okay, or the type of combat that was going on really should probably be better said. All right. The next set here, oops. No, that's the ones I showed before. Yes.
Nope. Those are the ones. Those are the new AEO order.
Oh, okay, right. These are just AEO orders. That was the star ones to show. These, okay, their action event. We'll start with that. Devin has made up special action and events. Some scenarios will tell you to use 1, none, all of them. They are designed for certain scenarios, okay? So we did this on purpose so we can add things or create certain actions/events that are geared towards a particular scenario, okay? At the same time, the battlefield fate is a little bit more of just a randomizer of different battles. And again, sometimes you're told you can't use them. Sometimes we're told you can use them, but only use one randomly. You don't know which one it is. Again, notice, guys, that there's no dice on these cards either. Sometimes the cards have no effect, and it'll just say that so you don't know nothing's going to happen. Other times it's for one side or the other. Other times you take them out, and other times you shuffle them back in, and it's really gives us a lot more control both on the action events and on the battlefield fate. You can also use the battlefield fate and your battle generator. Okay, so just add a little bit of stuff there for you. You know what? We didn't take any pictures. Oh, these are some of these are the solo assistant cards. You may say, well, what's different? From the new cards that we just released, I think very little is different. Okay, because we made them that way. But we can have special cards. Like if this was the Pacific, I'm just using that. We could have had a bonsai card, or we could have stubbornness of certain types of defense, like in the grain factory, I guess is a good example. In Stalingrad, there might be a certain solo card that you would use on either certain scenarios or just whenever the Soviets are using that particular rule in a battle. Okay. The one thing we haven't shown, but we'll explain, Devin, I guess you can maybe explain a little bit better than I can. We added solo setup counters. Okay. And I'll let Devin kind of take it over. I'm going to see if I can find a picture as you explain this, Dev.
Yep. All right. So basically for the solo setup, one of the things that we've had a lot of complaints about is people love the solo system, but they don't want to place the units for the enemy forces. So that fell on us to set up the solo setups for both sides. So if you want to play the Germans in the scenario, you will have the Soviet setup on Soviet setup options for the Soviets. If you want to play the Soviets, now the Germans have Soviet solo setup options. Basically what it is you will have a list of all the forces in the scenario, and they're broken down into different groups. None of them are going to violate stacking rules because, well, again, we're going into the setup of the game. It would do us any good to have us breaking our own rules during the setup. But what you will have is you will have a list of these groups, and then you also have a list of numbers or a list of counters that are false contacts, basically. So what you will do is you will take, so say you have 5 groups, and the label group 1 is a T-34. Group 2 is a leader and 2 squads and a light machine. Group 3 is a 57 millimeter anti, whatever the formation is. You will take the group counter that matches each one of those plus a number of false contacts, and now both these counters will have the same back. And what you'll do is you'll place them all in a pile, mix them up face down, and then you'll have a list of hexes to place all these group counters or false contact counters out. You're not going to know if that counter is actually a false counter or it's actually a group counter. So you do the entire setup for this, and that basically will populate the battlefield, the map. And then once you've got all your setup up, then you go ahead and flip them all over. If it's a false contact, just remove it from the board. If it's a group counter, put the corresponding group in that hex. And we could have gone with just one setup, but that would reduce your replayability. So I came up with this mechanic of having multiple setups for multiple replayability by adding in these false contacts and extra hexes where stuff could appear or could not appear. Now, for the most part, are you going to be playing against me how I set up my games? Yes, in some regards. In other regards, I totally threw caution to the wind and did setups that I think other people would do and not necessarily the way I would. Yeah, but for the most part, you're kind of, when you're doing the setup, it's kind of how I would set up the scenarios. So you can get a look into my mind if you're setting up these scenarios. So, but we wanted it for the replayability, and the only way we could do that was having variable hexes for the solos to set up in, and the only way we could do that was to add in multiple hexes they could set up in and the false contacts to give you more options and more places that they can set up. So this hex isn't always going to, this hex isn't always going to have a unit. It might have a unit. It might have a different group next time. It might have it might have a tank in that hex next time. It might have a leader with machine guns and foxholes in it. It might have nothing in it next time. So we were continually striving for replayability with the solo system. So
the other thing too, just to throw in there, we also, I'll show you some of these counts now. We also give you the ability that you could set both sides up like this. Yes. So even though you're playing one side, you're not 100% sure where your guys are going to start. I mean, you know what buildings and stuff, but you don't know exactly what group it is, which also gives you a little bit more replayability, and that's really big for us. But it also, hey, I really would have put this machine gun over here, but who knows why? General Fritz stuck that guy over there. So what you get is the front. This is basically what you're going to see. Okay. And if you have two sides, you're trying to set both sides, you get this for the other side. Okay. And again, it's just a possibility of a contact. And in the back, as Devin was saying, now, hold on, guys, this is going to be major. You got one of these. Okay. And all it is, like I said, it's just for a placement of setup, and that's pretty much it.
And I will mention that, yes, there are some scenarios where there are 20 groups, and even a couple scenarios that have upwards of 24 groups. And I had to come up with some really unique ways of setting those up in the scenario write-up. But yeah, we've done everything we can to try to make the solo setup and the solo gameplay more friendly for the solo players. Like we were saying, biggest complaint we were getting was, well, I don't want to set up the opposing side. Well, now you don't have to. Now you have this solo setup that's part of the module scenario rule that takes care of that all for you. And I'm hoping people use it and appreciate it and like it.
One of the solo setup things. Hold on.
Yep.
I guess it'll be under scenarios, huh?
It should be under scenarios, yes.
No, I don't have that. Did any of those get laid out yet or no?
Oh, no, we've already got them all. The only ones that we haven't got laid out completely yet are Val the 13th, and Stefan and I are still editing those. But everything else should be included in the module rules.
Okay, maybe I'm just looking at the wrong section.
Well, take a look at one of the actual, the most up-to-date module companion.
Module companion. I didn't even see those.
Really?
Hold on.
In the
Blackwell sticks these things in places.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the other thing. Who knows? Where he's got.
Okay, let me see. This might be it right here. Hold on. Okay, this is Hunting on the Hills. Okay.
That's from Enemy at the Gates. Yep.
Okay, and I'm just going to take a picture, if I can, of the Soviet setup. So
yep.
It'll be easy to upload. Hold on. Actually, I guess it doesn't stop me from doing both. Hold on.
And we got hellos from Compass Rose and from my buddy Christopher Robin. He's my play tester. He's play tested many of these scenarios. Wood JH, loving the attention to the solo system. Thank you for the hard work doing that. You are most welcome. And our buddy Wardrobe, sorry for coming on so late. Not a big deal. This is kind of a last minute. David and I were originally planning on just recording this and then releasing it later. And he says, well, why don't we do it live? And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
we haven't done a live
we
stream.
weren't 100% sure how well the record button was going to work for this, so we just said, okay, it's uploading now to the screen there. Now, just so you know, guys, so what you see coming in Heroes of a Bit of Harvest, let's just say we do whatever the next game might be. Okay, whatever that next game is, they're going to come a little bit more fast and furious now, because if you've noticed, we kind of do things in bundles. And what we're trying to do is basically provide, hey, here's your RPG system. The solo cards for this game comes here. So the events and the battlefields and even the commanders and how they're laid out, these AEO cards can be customized for that module. Okay, but since it's a part of the game, it's not like you're not paying extra for those pieces anymore. Okay. Okay. Let me just, I don't know why I keep doing this. Okay. This is the Soviet setup and of that scenario. And to hope this gives you a little bit of idea, it's not really all that exciting to see, but you can see he's got the Soviet event cards up there. And I'm going to shut up, Devin, and let you explain what we're not doing.
All right. So basically, we start out with the Solitaire events cards, and so you have you will have your regular AEO deck as usual, and then as David was mentioning earlier, instead of having the random events that you roll on a separate chart, because you remember with the old cards, you would have that little dice icon at the bottom, and that means if you roll over this, roll a random event. Now it's the random events are more tailored for the fighting in the Southeast Russia. And so these cards, as it says right there, 43 AoE Surge, 45 Minefield Attack, 47 Back in the Fight. So you will find those three cards and you will stick them into your AEO deck. And if they come up as you're pulling for cards, well, then that random event happens. You will also notice it says a total of 2 events are possible in this scenario. Once the 2 events have been resolved, remove and ignore all other events. But there's 3 events cards that are listed. That's right, because sometimes we want to have more replayability, and just because there's 3 cards in there, that doesn't mean you're going to see all 3 of those events happen. Sometimes you're only going to have 2 events and you may have 4 cards in the deck. Sometimes You'll have 3 cards in the deck, but you'll have 5 or 6 events, so you'll see the same event happen multiple times. A lot of it came down to a lot of hair pulling on my end of trying to figure out, in this situation, with the historical data that I had, what kind of random events were we going to see, and how often were we going to see those? So again, we're continually going back to the replayability. Then you have the Soviet AEO setup. So posture is going to be defensive. That's going to tell you that the Soviets are going to be using their defensive cards in this one. And then you have the setup. Set up the following groups and the following hexes. So you have all the hexes listed. Then you've got each individual group. And then below that, and then right below the following groups and following hexes, you've got 6 negative contact markers. So there's 6 groups and 6 negative contact markers. So that means there's going to be 12 hexes that you're going to be placing these face down in. Then you set up you do this for each set of setups. I had to break it up sometimes because, all right, if I've got a scenario with vehicles and infantry, vehicles can't set up in buildings. So they have to have their own setup locations. Again, lots of hair pulling. So that's why you're going to sometimes see 2, 3, or maybe even 4 different setups, because sometimes in the bigger scenarios, it's like, all right, well, let's say the Soviets had a light screen of defenders. All right, so that'll be one group of setup. Then they're going to have their reserve force. That's going to be another setup. They've got anti-tank defenses that can't go in buildings, so I need a third setup for those. But it's basically all following the same pattern. You have a number of groups, you have a number of negative contact markers, place the counters in the hexes. Once you have everything all set up, flip the counters over. It's a negative contact. Pull it off the board. You don't do anything with it. If you pull the group 1 marker, then you'll take the 2 144s, the 1 DP-28, the 1 Molotov cocktail, and Lieutenant Makhno, put it in that hex. Group 6, oh, that's the 12.7 millimeter weapon team. That'll go in that hex, and so on and so forth. Again, replayability. That was kind of the key word that we were going with what we were trying to do with this solo system.
All right, guys. The only other thing we're going to wait. I think I had this one too. There you go.
Yep, that's from the German side. Sometimes you will also have units entering from off board. So you won't have negative contacts, but you'll lay out the group numbers, and then whenever the AEO deck calls for a unit to enter from off board, then you'll just, okay, as each group is pulled to enter the board, roll on the following to start, see which hex they will enter from. So it's like, all right, it's the Germans' activation. They're going to be pulling a unit. I pull a number randomly. Oh, it's group 7. That's a martyr. So we'll take the martyr, and then we'll roll to see which hex they show up on. Depending on the size of the map, it may be only 6 hexes. It may be 12 hexes. It may be 2 or 3 hexes. It all depends on how historically the flow of the battle went. And yes, again, I reiterate, more hair pulling.
Oh, something else too that Devin, maybe we didn't say. Some of these events, even though you get the card, are either a dice roll or it can only happen on an even turn. We even took into consideration how many turns are left in the scenario. Okay, so at times, if it's turn 2, may not get the effect, or the dice roll to activate it may not happen, and you stick it back in the deck. Okay, and the more close to the end of it you get, the more chance of it happening or not happening, depending upon how we designed that.
Well, for a good example is like a Minefield Attack. For the most part, if you're approaching a position to attack a position, you're going to run into the minefields early in the battle, because eventually you're just going to move past where the minefields are at as you're fighting your way into the position. So you may only have, like the first half of the game, you can only have the minefield effect. And if it's the second half of the game, then the minefield effect is, discard the card or wait for another random event to come up. So lots of hair pulling.
So last thing for you guys, we want to quit. We wanted to do this in less than an hour, and we broke that rule, much to our spouses' disgust. So here's what we've got. Also available right now, Heroes of the Bitter Harvest is available in digital format through Steam or through our store through a Steam key. And you can play it right now. Here's a screenshot of one of them. Okay. And you can see the computer game. It's for Mac and for Windows. Okay. Enemy at the Gates is not it will not come out until we are done, I believe, the Gamefound.
Yes.
Okay, and I think it's a stretch goal or an add-on. I don't remember anymore.
We
But
do.
you'll see
There
when we
is
look at
there
the
is something for the digital and the stretch goals. So
Okay,
keep
there
an
you
eye
go.
keep an eye out tomorrow.
Oh, and guys, if you haven't tried it and you're not sure if you like it, it really follows the game rules, right down to the counters, as you can see in the dice rolls. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, anybody who signs up to track this, you don't have to pay for anything, to do anything, we're giving you a free gift of the Lock and Load Tactical digital core game. Okay? Won't cost you anything. You can try it. If you don't like it, you're not out anything but time. Okay? If you do like it, there's DLCs for all kinds of our games out there. They're working on a Day of Heroes right now. I saw text go by arguing over something about a hex setup. And here's the last image for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. Okay. And if you guys got any comments or questions about Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, Enemy at the Gate, Battle of the 13th, we'll give you a chance to just ask real quick, and then we're going to shut this down. The video will be hopefully on our Gamefound crowdfunding page tomorrow.
Yep. We're just going to have to take the link from YouTube and make sure we get it in there.
All right. And it starts tomorrow again, 12 o'clock Colorado time. And so it'll be 11 o'clock California and 2 o'clock East Coast. I add about 8 hours for Europeans, roughly. Someone's asking, will using Gamefound simplify orders from the UK to Europe? You know what? I don't really know. Technically, we have somebody in Europe, in the UK, Second Chance Games. They're really our partner over there. They always take our games. They pre-order, so we know roughly what they want. And then they will have some games there. And we are using an EU distributor. I don't know the set name is Darren White, who's our warehouse manager. He is setting that up. So it should, I'm going to say 99%. So there's always that one chance something can go wrong, but it should be EU friendly, UK friendly. We don't have anyone in Australia just at the moment, unless something happens. But as long as it happens by the time the Kickstarter ends, the Gamefound ends the campaign, it's only going to be, I think it's 23 days long. It's not a full 30 days. Okay, so it hits 3 what we call pay periods. Okay, 3 weeks basically. Okay, so I hope that answers everything, guys.
We did have a really good question from Brandon.
I missed that one, sorry. Okay, Brandon, I love to grab other land so I can be ready with the system. Will the discount code be active? The discount code is active right now.
But he's saying it's accepting it, but not discounting. So we're gonna have to call Darren about that one.
Yeah. As soon as I get off the phone, I will call Darren and make sure it's working. Brandon, I'm not sure where you are. If you're in Australia, that could be the problem. But there's all kinds of shipping issues going to Australia. Darren's trying to find out from the Postal Service when and how that's going to be resolved. But either way, it's something that, it doesn't need to be fixed tomorrow. The discount code does, and I'll get he's in Ohio. Well, that definitely should be working then. I want to say, I'm not sure. So will be discount code be active? Did you try the uppercase? Make sure everything is exactly as the code is shown on the screen. So if it's a capital H, it's a capital H. If it is, then just say so, and I will just have Darren double check it. But it definitely should be live right now, and it's good for the computer game as well as the board games and books and everything else there, guys.
Compass Rose also had a really good question as well.
Any new to close house to be released for Lock and Load Tactical Good Job and listed coming soon and seen for several weeks. Yeah,
Day of Heroes.
Okay. Yeah, Day of Heroes is the next game out as of now. should get out before Enemy at the Gates, but it's going to be a really close one. Enemy at the Gates, I think, is done, right, Dev?
It's yes, we finished all the scenarios, inputting them, and I've been going over and checking Tom to make sure that he didn't mess up any of the setup locations or anything like that, which, you know, I have to do with all the scenarios anyway. So yes, it is technically done at this point.
Okay. So I expect Dave Heroes will go next, follow either really quickly behind Enemy at the Gates or come right out before Enemy at the Gates. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question, Brent. Sorry, I'm looking at 8 screens here. I literally have on my desk, guys, 2 49-inch monitors on top of each other, plus another monitor that's 32 inches that's tall with all kinds of other messages on it, and an iPad sitting here with other messages from the source. So I'm kind of looking all over. That's why I look like I'm somewhat spastic all the time.
Yeah, I've got 7 windows open that I'm keeping track of, so I'm right there with you.
All right. Yeah, it was actually what had happened. It was not so much an Eastern Front theme push. We decided certain rules based on the where we were designing at the moment and what we were trying to achieve. And we wanted to play the solo system for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest and other categories to make sure, you know, we got the feel down and the rules right. So yeah, I guess in a way you're right, but it was really more for us testing how we want to package the games going forward. All right, guys, if you don't have anything else, we're going to say good night. And as always, we will have some more scheduled events. I know Devin is hoping over the next couple of days to get some playthroughs on, is it not Vassal, is it on Tabletop Simulator?
TTS, yep.
So you'll get to see him play, and I assume he'll maybe try a solo one out, but if you've played the solo system, it is similar. It's the other features that we discussed about that's pretty much the changes. So, hey, just remember Ukraine in your prayers, gentlemen. Have a good evening, and we thank you for your support. It does mean the world to us. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the battlefield.